Larry Goldberg tells me that he has been doing one of his favorite things in the whole world, and that is driving his Cybertruck all over the country. And this time it's to Florida. Larry, you had some thoughts about your Cybertruck and about your companion in the truck.
Yeah, it was, it's amazing having Grok in the truck because, I was listening to a book in the truck and the book said something, look, that's not right. Stopped the book and said to Grok, Grok, blah, 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 blah. Grok said, no, blah, 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 blah. I thought, vindicated. I mean, that's just like one example. Another example, I'm riding past a place and I see a sign for a big industrial complex. What is this? Rock, what is this? Gives me the whole deal. I mean, it's like magic. But I
Yeah.
have to say, look, I know because I drive, Model 3 with a much updated FSD. I know the FSD is not as great, but it's nonetheless. I mean, I drove, 1,000 miles in one day, faultless, faultless. It's amazing. It's amazing.
That's well. Well, you're also telling me that you have to be careful with when you're talking to Grok because you forgot to turn it off.
Yeah. So, I'm here with my nephew and my relatives, and I mean, I have to tell you. So these folks are from South Africa and from the UK and from Finland. So, I pick them up at the airport and we get out of the parking garage with some difficulty, but we get out of the parking garage. And then I tell them I'm going to put it in automatic, and like mouths dropped. I mean, and they still can't get over it to this moment. And, I mean, the car just drives flawless. It's just marvelous, marvelous view.
Well, there's a guy who's primarily responsible for that, some guy named Elon Musk, who's been running this company for a very, very long time, and he hasn't been paid since 2017, if I understand it correctly. I don't know that he was paid that much before
Yeah,
2007.
I was going to make the point. He did. No, he got a really good bonus based upon his 2012 or 2014 incentive plan, which he did well on. But it was a pure incentive plan.
I see.
So since it went public, I guess, he's been running on incentive. We
Right.
got the payment out in, I think it was 2014. My memory doesn't serve me too well, at my age.
Yeah. Yeah.
But since then, he hasn't been paid. He
Right.
literally has not been paid. And
So,
he's driven FSD. In that time, he's driven, the humanoid robot Optimus. In that time, he's driven incredible engineering evolutions. I mean, every time I get onto the subject of the Delaware Court of Chancery, my blood pressure goes through the roof, and my, heart specialist said, stop with mentioning Tesla. It's not good for you. You got to stop this stuff, blah, blah, blah. And take the word Delaware Chancery Court out of your vocabulary. So I've got to listen to my,
that's right. That's right.
yeah,
Of course. Well, let's talk about the positive side then, because
yeah.
they haven't made their decision yet. But the board of directors of Tesla did make a decision over the weekend, I guess, to do two actions. And so, first of all, I'd like to know what you thought about the down payment, they called it, the down payment on replacing that in case it never comes through. And then you also said that you've been listening to some of the commentary from others in the community, which I've not had a chance to do. So I'd be curious to know what your take is on their commentary.
Look, the commentary is almost universally positive from the people who are, the major retail shareholders and main retail commentators. And for that, we look at for leadership from Tesla Boomer Mama. And, she said she needs to think about it, when I first read about it, but she was very positive. I have to believe this is a pretty good down payment just to keep the kettle boiling. I would love there to be some there's a limit to what they can give to Elon up front because of the NASDAQ rules.
Right.
And so the ideal solution is to win the case in the Delaware Supreme Court, and in the Delaware Supreme Court, win the appeal. And if we win the appeal, this award will be rescinded, and then we're back to now what do we do from the end of the reward going forward?
Right.
And so this is a kind of down payment for replacing the reward, and this is not the going forward.
Right.
So we still have to do the going forward, but we need to do this down payment and get it done.
Yeah.
Now, it's unclear to me that they need a vote.
They said they didn't.
I didn't think they did. There was some comment about them needing a vote, but I don't think they do. I think that under the current Texas domicile, they're good to go.
Right.
So I'm hoping that this goes ahead and we move forward, and and then maybe there's a share exchange with X.ai. If there's a share exchange with X.ai, it's almost perfect. So if there's a 5% for 5%, or 5 on one side and maybe 10 on the other side, it's perfect because it gives Elon control of another 5%.
Right,
So,
right.
and maybe it's 10% and 20%. I think Tesla would have to get more than double.
Yeah.
Maybe 4 times.
Right.
So there's a limit, how much the exchange can be. But nonetheless, any exchange would put control of that stock into Elon's hands.
Is the other leadership in the community, like Tesla Boomer Mama, are they coming around to your idea of a stock exchange rather than a cash payment?
I've seen some friendly comments on that, and I did have this further thought. There's no reason why there can't be an exchange of shares with SpaceX and an exchange of shares with X.ai, and that would be. That would really give Elon a much more powerful hold over Tesla. I mean, it's clearly important for us that Elon has this 25% stake.
Right, right.
And so in my view, we need to work very hard on a solution to put that 25% stake into Elon's hands. And now there were some crazy ideas of retail shareholders, signing over their rights to the shares in favor of Elon.
I saw that.
I think that's a mistaken concept, because I think that opens too many doors to too many court cases. We could end up with 50 shareholders having, spouses or children, survivors, taking issue with what happened and then suing the company. I don't like it at all. It's a construct that has never been proposed before, and that doesn't make it bad.
Right.
But it's never been proposed before because essentially it opens too many doors to too many problems.
Gotcha. Yeah, I can understand.
So I think it's very creative.
Yeah.
But it's not a good idea.
Okay. All right. On another subject, our friend, I call him our friend. I've never met him or had him on my show, but Adam Jonas is no longer going to be covering cars. And with Morgan Stanley, he is being moved into covering AI, parentheses, AVs, eVTOLs, space, humanoid robots, etc., leveraging the ideas and relationships from my talented research colleagues across public and private companies, Jonas said. So this is a new position for him. Sounds like more closely aligned with covering Tesla.
Well, I think that's right. I think what Adam Jonas is saying is, I now understand Elon Musk. I now grok Elon Musk. Clearly, Elon Musk is ushering in the future. I want to be the analyst of the future.
Right.
So there's a very strong tie, if you like. And, Adam Jonas went from being negative on Tesla to being fairly positive to being strongly positive, and then finally understanding what Elon's going to do. Now, you have to look at his earlier publications on EVs. You have to look at his publications on Optimus, on bots, in general. You have to look at, his publications on AI, and you can see the thematic relationship building. So yeah, I think that's very important. And I decided to place some money with
Goldman?
I've decided to place some money with Morgan Stanley to simply get his writing. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's cool. All right. On the general, unless you've got something else on Tesla, I've got some ideas on the general economy.
Yeah, I'd be very fascinated to hear them.
All right. So I'm beginning to see evidence of what looks to me like not just the press, but even some that are in the economic sphere, what seems to be trying to talk the economy into a recession.
Yeah.
Now, in some regards, a recession right now would be great for Trump, because they say you need to get your recession over early, and then you're back to, getting the economy going crazy before the midterms. But I don't think Trump wants that. I don't think he wants a recession, period.
I don't think he's going to get that.
And I don't think so either.
We're in a recession.
Well, we've been in this rolling recession, which you and I have agreed on.
Everybody calls it, and Kathy calls it a rolling. We're in a recession, in my judgment. I don't know if you saw Trueflation today announced that they're going to do a PCI inflation print on a
PCI.
A
PCE?
I get confused between PCE and PCI.
So
they're going to do an
CPI. They are now doing a PCE as well.
Yeah, I mean a PCE actually. They wanted to mimic
the PCE.
They want to mimic the PCE inflation print.
Right.
But they want to do it on a daily basis.
Right.
So we get a much, much earlier read on where the Fed is what the Fed is going to read after the fact.
Right.
And maybe the Fed gets it in real time. But it's very interesting because their first print is like 2.16. If the Fed had that 2.16 print, which I believe they did, by the way, then they have absolutely no excuse. None at all.
I agree. Now, on their CPI print, their daily, right now they've dropped it to 1.67. They did revise it on August 1st, and their overnight is now at 1.67. And their annual year over year is about the same as the PCE, about 2.10, 2.1.
But we know that they have to act in advance of getting to their target.
Right.
We know that we know that it's going to end up below 2. We know it's going to end up in the 1 point somethings.
Especially with housing going down.
Yeah. So, we may be able to get these. Sorry, Randy.
So we were talking, Larry, about the economy before we had that little brief interruption. And one of the things I wanted to add to the story, okay, so we've got the story we were just discussing, but then we've got this whole business of employment. And of course, that blew up the market on Friday. You and I talked about it on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I think the market kind of agreed with the position I took on Friday, which was, no, this was not a big deal. And we've got all these other indicators that are looking very positive, like 9% increase in earnings on the S&P that have reported so far, et cetera. But what I want to talk about quickly before, I may want to talk a little bit more about that in a minute, before I want to talk about something else. Demographically, there's a report out, just came out today, or just got reported today. If immigration is flat, meaning the same number of out migration to Mexico, et cetera, compared to the number of coming in from H-1B visas and student visas and whatnot, if it's flat in terms of the employment opportunity, we'll lose 300,000 workers next year, and it'll continue to increase. We have more people retiring than we have coming into the workforce by 300,000.
Look, what has saved the United States over the last 20 years has been immigration.
Right.
The problem is not immigration.
Right.
In fact, the solution is immigration.
Immigration, yes.
The problem is immigration from where?
And without vetting.
That's the point.
Yeah.
But also, when we have people immigrate into the country and they're adults, we want people with similar or better education than the people we already have in the country. We want people with very similar backgrounds culturally. We don't oppose variation in background. I mean, I come from a very different culture from the US, but if we bring in millions of people from a completely different and significantly different educational background, social background, education background, we're in trouble.
Right.
And that has always been the case. I mean, in the 1930s, we stopped the immigration then because we were getting a huge number of people who are at, in a very significant difference.
Right.
And it cost my people, who are Jewish people, who are not highly educated, from what became the killing fields of, Central Europe,
Mm-hmm.
and they were unable to get in. So that has always been our, ever since the late 19th century, that has been our policy.
Right.
Why did we surrender that policy?
Yeah. It makes no sense. So with regard to the specific economics, though, of the situation, it's pretty interesting. I mentioned, you and I talked about again this on Saturday, that we have so many forces coming at one time. And one of the forces that people are worried about and that we'll be writing about in our new book is the business of maybe not needing as many employees because of AI. And these could be coming.
See, I think that's a spurious and that's a fallacious judgment.
Oh, you think it's not going to happen? Okay.
Yeah, I think that, from the beginning of time, well, in any case, from the first industrial revolution.
Right.
And probably from the invention of fire, the whole notion of technology advances has been fraught with this whole idea that, oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
jobs are going to go away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They never have.
Right.
In the 1980s, the computer revolution was supposed to eliminate all these jobs. When it didn't, the internet was going to eliminate all these jobs. And when it didn't, AI is going to eliminate all these jobs. I don't believe that's true. And I don't believe that Optimus will eliminate all these jobs. I know, Elon thinks that it will, and I won't be around. He'll be there to laugh over my grave or to say, Goldberg, you were right.
That's right.
I think there are going to be more jobs.
Yes, and I think that is a possibility. Some people talk about we might have more jobs ultimately, but there could be a time when there's a shift because it's happening so quickly. But the point I'm trying to make is it's an unknown. Okay, it's really an unknown. You could be right, you could be wrong, I could be, who knows? But what we do know is demographically, we're going to lose 300,000 able-bodied workers, are the
It
300,000.
doesn't have to happen. 300,000 people we can immigrate, we can bring into this country so easily every year.
Right.
Working age, top-notch, highly educated people we could bring into this country every year.
Right. And so that becomes, though, the issue. I guess I'm bringing it up for a couple of reasons. One is there may be an offset of some loss of jobs, because we don't know what's going to happen there really. But also it needs to be top of mind of the administration in terms of how to think about the visas and the things that they've done going forward. We don't want the overall economic situation to shrink because of a lack of labor, or to drive prices of labor way up because we don't have enough.
Well, the solution is so easy. Immigration has been the solution to 100 years of enormous technology advances, and we've solved it every time. Every time. If you look at this country's demographics compared to all the other Western countries, we are the only ones that haven't lost. We aren't below the replacement rate. Now, we are getting there.
Right.
Because we haven't really maintained, the process, but we don't know actually what's going to happen. We don't know how many of these people that came in last year and the last 4 years are going to actually be repatriated. We don't know that we are going to run into negative, but I would just say that immigration is not the problem, it's the solution.
Right.
Not immigration is the solution.
Yeah. All right. So one of the other things that came up today was this morning, it was the manufacturing report, and every single, just kind of along my theme again of people only kind of talk down the economy like we're already in trouble or that we're going into trouble. In the manufacturing report that came out this morning, it was very, very clear. It was the last line, but it's only a 2-paragraph report. And the last line said the durables outside of transportation were up, and that overall durables were up a lot last month and down this month, actually down less this month than they were up last month. And that it's all about Boeing. It's basically Boeing's having their order book up or down, is
delivery.
Well, both the orders and deliveries, both are.
Okay, but delivery is what actually brings in the dollars.
Right. So again, we've got nobody paying attention to the internal part of the report on purpose.
It's just, the story that people want told. That's all it is. Story that people want told. And, there's a huge pressure on, from a political point of view, huge pressure to prove that, this is a disaster.
Right.
But you only have to look at the market.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
You have to be an idiot to think, it's clear that the depressed market of the end of last year, or actually mid of last year, the depressed market of mid of last year was the peak of the recession.
Right.
What we're looking at now is, the climb out. I think the market would have tanked had Biden been elected.
Mm-hmm.
I think the fact that the market went through the roof when Trump was elected is a very good sign. Yeah, it went down when he came out with, the tariff day or whatever that day was supposed to be. But I mean, people are beginning to realize this is not the 1930s. This is like the 1880s all over again.
Yeah. So again, I mentioned this in passing a minute ago, but I do want to bring it up again. We've had earnings so far to date, 3 weeks. So it's more than 2/3 are now reporting on their earnings. 9.3% increase in earnings, and the street was predicting under 3%.
Yeah.
So we've completely blown away the earnings.
My point exactly. I mean, that's exactly my point. We are in a rolling recovery from a real recession. I know Kathy called it a rolling recession, and we're going to go into a rolling recovery. No, we had a real recession. We're going into rolling recovery. And maybe the recession board or whoever it is that, says grace over having a recession will actually realize what I'm telling them is the truth.
Okay. And of course, it's all extremely technical, and it's really, I think, a sense of what people feel is way more. When I say feel, it's nothing you can ever measure, but people will sometimes, especially as we've talked about, the under 100,000 group, $100,000 a year being kind of a fake cutoff, but it's roughly right. People that make less than 100,000 felt like they were in a recession. They felt that it was hard to
They
pay
were.
bills.
They were. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not a
Yeah.
look. The whole employment report has been bull from the beginning, and he fired the woman ahead of it. I'm not sure she was responsible because I think the whole methodology is like 19th century.
Right.
Or 20th century, I guess we can say now. The whole methodology was 20th century. To have that methodology in this day and age is just plain stupid. It is, guys, here's the number, but the methodology is telling us that the number may not be the number. In fact, the methodology is telling us that for certain the number is not the number. Now, do you fire the head of it, or do you fire the whole lot of that? I mean, what do? You have to change the methodology, and maybe the person he'll hire will be, will rethink the whole method.
I was hoping, I don't think he can do this because he'd have to get Congress probably to approve it. But what he really needs is one of the guys that Meta is hiring, giving them, $100 million bonus and $100 million a year to fix this thing. And maybe they only need a year to do it.
Doesn't need that. He's got Doge. The people at Doge, no, I'm serious. I'm deadly serious.
I hear you.
The brain power at Doge could solve this problem. And they could solve it for a lot less than 100 million and a lot less than, 10 million. It is not a difficult problem.
Well, I point out this morning, I think it was Larry, the Truflation is giving us the data daily.
In real time.
In real time, right now, based on the information. So why can't the federal government do the same thing?
Look, the problem economists have is that the series of the past.
Yes.
They don't want discontinuity. They want continuity of the series in the past. Well, I've got a simple solution for them. Take the new methodology and just roll it back 20 years.
Right. See if it conforms. Yes.
I mean, how dumb do economists have to get? Who is it who said that, if you want the wrong solution, just take 20 economists and, get there.
Right.
I mean,
I think the variation I heard the other day, Larry, is that if the economist looks at the reality and says, well, that doesn't fit my formulas, so therefore reality must be wrong. I thought that was a good new one. So I think what they really need at the BLM, and maybe this is what they'll do because this is the way Trump thinks, is they'll put in a leader, and it could be one of these guys from Doge, grab one of those guys and say, hey, you've been doing a great job. We want to put you in BLM now, and let's completely rejigger it the way that Truflation is doing it, and let's get the numbers daily. And do you know what that would mean for the markets? We would no longer have these days where we get these shocks.
The shocks are they are simply a reflection of how slow the reporting and how difficult the reporting was in the past.
Right.
It's time to revise the entire system.
Right.
And I do understand that there's going to be a discontinuity, but it is so easy to go back and recast the past.
Exactly. And it's okay to keep collecting it the way you are for 6 months or something and show what the difference. That's what Truflation did. They said, look, here's how we're comparing to what the other guys are still saying.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think if it was daily and immediate.
But it is very sad. It is very sad that we now have to resort to Truflation and poly markets
to
get the reality of what is happening.
Exactly.
When we have all the means at our disposal to get true accuracy.
Exactly. 100%. So we need to, I made my voice heard on X today, Larry. Maybe you can add your voice to the idea of daily reporting in real time. I think it can be done pretty much across the board. rather than the way that we're doing.
I agree.
Yep.
I agree.
Well, okay. How about the numbers? So the good news is, Larry, the bonds came down and mortgages have dropped. This is something we've been waiting for. So the 10-year is down another 0.4 in the pre-market at 4.194. We're under 4.2. And the headline is that the mortgages have come down. So there's an opportunity for those who are looking to buy another house and need a mortgage. They should jump in right now, I guess, in case they go back up. I don't know.
I think there may be a real opportunity for a major drop over the next couple of weeks in both the mortgage rate and in the
10-year.
10-year.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. We get the CPI not this coming week, but the following week.
Following week, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with the CPI and the PPI. That will probably seal the fate for at least a week or two until we get more data.
But you know, this is a very strong pointer to the fact that the Federal Reserve is too late.
Yeah.
They really risk a return to recession. It's really terrible.
Yeah, you know what? But you know what nobody talks about, Larry, and I just listened to a couple of really good podcasts over the last couple of days. I don't know if you've heard the free
Better than ours?
better than ours in a way because of it was Friedberg interviewing the head of DeepMinds, you know.
Come on, we do better than DeepMind.
Anyway, the question.
That's not DeepMind, Tesla.
I'm not.
He's Google.
It's a longer name than that. The head, yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to come up with it. We have a probable. He said, and it's now been quoted everywhere, all over the internet right now. He thinks that we will grow the economy 10 times faster than the Industrial Revolution, 10 times more than the Industrial Revolution, and do it in 10 years instead of 100 years. So basically having
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree. And you know what? Grok even agreed with that today.
Okay. So you get out of that, you get a tremendous amount of wealth, which we've talked about now on this channel for a long time. But in between, you're going to be seeing much, much larger GDP advances, and you're going to be seeing much larger increases in productivity. And that is going to drive the inflation numbers down, and therefore the bond numbers down.
Maybe that's why the Federal Reserve is not reducing the interest rate.
Maybe, huh? So nice to get the Federal Reserve fixed. That's another thing. We need to get rid of 419 of the 420 PhDs in the Federal Reserve. I'm sure that would help a ton.
That would help no end.
Oil comes down a little bit in the pre-market, Larry, to $66.
Isn't it amazing? Interest rates and oil coming down together.
Yeah. And natural gas is under $3 at $2.94. I keep promising to look into that, and I haven't done it yet, but I will. All right, Larry, which way is gold going to go now? I haven't. It's
gold. Gold is going to be. Secularly, gold is going to go down
over time. Okay, because
I think gold's hit the peak.
It's hit the peak at 34.28, and it was 34. I think the high was 34.50 or something.
Yeah, and
then it dropped all the way to 3,300, and now back up to. I mean, it's been all over the place for a week. Silver, $37.50, a couple of bucks under its all-time high, and copper. So copper, you know what happened with copper was the tariff got changed. I've talked about it a few times on the show. Copper is in such demand, and it's just going to continue to be in demand.
Yeah.
But they're also putting in some new supply. So what do you think is going to happen here? We're at $4.46.
I think $5 copper is
$5. We are 100% in alignment. That's exactly what I think we're looking at. Bitcoin up 692, 115, 151.
I'm going to write a treatise on Bitcoin.
A treatise. Oh.
I think Bitcoin and these stable coins, between them, I think they're highly deflationary.
Okay. Okay.
This is not something I can get into tonight.
Right.
And we can't, get into the depths of it. But I'm beginning to believe that what we're looking at is a very deflationary movement. And it's going to have a real impact, and it has to do with the velocity of money. That every dollar that goes into Bitcoin, every dollar that goes into stablecoin, unless stablecoin starts being used for transactions on a much larger scale,
Right,
is going to have a really strong deflationary impact on the economy. You heard it here first.
I heard it there first. All right, cool. That's very cool. Well, the Dow Jones Industrial went up 585 today.
Wow.
And it completely reversed the loss on Friday.
Yeah. So all my investments in my infrastructure stocks going through the roof.
Going through the roof, yes. Good choice, Larry. Dow's up another 55 in the pre-market.
Isn't that amazing?
0.13. The S&P is up another 9. That's 0.14. And the NASDAQ is up another 28 or 0.12. So all of them continue. Now, part of that is probably Palantir blew out the earnings, which was already crazy high.
Whoever believed that the Dow was going to lead the market up in this new age. Anyway, yeah, Palantir is a great stock. Palantir is a great company.
Yeah, I've listened to a pod with him as well, and I was very impressed with what he had to say.
Yeah,
Larry, that's all I got.
Randy, we should feature his book.
Oh, Palantir's book?
I mean, it is one of the most amazing books I've read in a very long time.
AI, something about saving grace or
No, it's not saving. I mean, it's all about saving the economy, saving the future of America.
Right.
I mean, it is a very short book. It can be encapsulated very easily. It is just a great read. I mean, I have such great respect for, what an amazing guy. What an amazing story. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. Well, you got anything, any last thoughts? Where do you think you think the market continues up at this point, or do we still need that what do you call it? A little bit of like a 5% retrenchment.
Pause that refreshes.
A pause that refreshes. Do we need a 5% pause, or are we just going to keep chugging?
I don't think there's going to be a pause. I think we're going to see a very strong market for quite a while now. I think the biggest issue that the Fed faces is that the market remains strong because of the leadership of these very good companies, but the under $100,000 guys are going to be hurting, and the only way to solve that problem is for the Fed to readjust its approach.
I think their problem is being solved, Larry. They're up 2% real earnings in 5 months under Trump. 2% real earnings.
Yeah, but I don't know if we can maintain that, if we don't see some relief on interest rates.
Right. Well, the theory would be, of course, that we're reshoring, and so those people will stop. They'll leave their job at Amazon, putting things on shelves, and they'll go help somebody make steel products.
That means that somebody's got the capital to build that steel plant.
Is it coming in? That's all. The 17.
Yeah. That may be, but ultimately they're investing in somebody, and that somebody needs working capital, and that somebody needs a very strong conviction in the market. So I think it all works together, but right now the administration is pulling in one direction and the Federal Reserve is pulling in right. That does not work well.
What do you think? You sit back and watch this as I do. What do you think the people that aren't completely Trump derangement syndrome, the people that try to keep a kind of a level head?
Not many of those, but okay.
think about this cabinet? Do you think that that gives them comfort? People are talking about, I saw some headline the other day about them, the least qualified cabinet ever or whatever. I'm thinking, what are you even talking about? I think most people see the people that are in the cabinet right now as being people that are accomplishing stuff and that speak well. Do you think that that is having any impact on the street and on corporate America in terms of feeling confident because these folks are running things?
Not sure. Look, I'm very comforted by the quality of the people in the cabinet. Very comforted. But, I was going to say the popular press, the left-wing press, and it's, very, very largely left-wing, is attacking each and every cabinet member without reserve. And so I think those people who are supporting Trump, and they're a large portion of the popular, they're a majority, small majority, but nonetheless majority. I think they feel good about it, but I think those that are naysayers, those that are Trump derangement syndrome people, we call them, but those that are opposed to this administration can't get past that, and they're not looking at the true quality of the people. And I mean, when you look at people like this, and I mean, he's the best Treasury Secretary we've had. I mean, since it's just incredible the quality of the man and the judgments they're making and how they're working with the president. So we are, really on track, very, very well on track.
With that extremely positive thought, unless you have a last one, Larry, I'll give you one more try, one more shot. That's it. That's all you got. I thought that was a great place to say adieu because that was a very positive. I just think that's true. And I think it's very important to have that kind of quality in the cabinet when we're going through these major changes that are happening. All right, Larry, enjoy your time in Florida and enjoy your drive back because I know you will. And to all of you out there, and thank you, by the way, as always, for being on the show. And to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.